All right, so first things first, we got to power up, and we'll turn on the breaker. It's number 7, bottom left. Once we've got that on, it's a sequencing power. So where's your little knob here? The sequence up, as you can see, it's labeled on the white strip there. Once we start this up, it's a process that one by one will turn things on. Automatically. So just once you do the switch, you just kind of wait for probably a couple, 3 minutes. One of the indicators on the side is your control panel for the auto mix. Goes through this boot up. As you can see, it's starting device, loading fonts, and all that fun stuff. So it's booting up as we speak. Kind of give you another indicator. On the front of the biamp unit, you'll see some green lights. Some of them turn red and all that. Once they get all green, you'll notice that it's ready to go. So these two will kind of give you the indicator when you can really start working.
Literally a couple minutes. I mean,
yeah, it takes a while for it to boot up.
A couple minutes is like 20 seconds, but you mean?
No, I mean a couple minutes. So yeah,
20 seconds.
Yeah. So if you waited to the last moment and everybody's waiting for you at the chancel, probably going to have to do a tap dance or something to fill the time. Okay. Yeah, it's like when the projector goes off, you know, and then the lamp's got to cool down and all that. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, it's still late to go through a couple of boot sequence steps.
Why don't you show them the microphones and how to turn the microphones on and off?
So you've got 2 types now. We've simplified down to 2. One nice thing about them is it's a very straightforward on-off. There is no mute. There is no special other function. So once you turn it on, you'll have lights come on. Unless it's dead. This one was off. There we go.
The lavs are new also.
Yeah, so you've got two new systems, handhelds and lapels, and the ear set for the pastor. They both have a little display that will backlight, tell you what channel it's on, but we are labeled them. So right now, if you look, there are corresponding receivers all rack mounted here, and they're also labeled, same labels that are on the mics, and then you can also double check if the channels were for some reason changed. They shouldn't. So what's nice about them is on the transmitters and the receivers, you can see there's a battery. I can't see them, my eyes aren't that good, but there is a battery indicator. But more importantly, if you're running sound here, you get a really nice clear battery indicator to tell you the status of the battery. And that's like if you have an iPhone or a Samsung or something, you can kind of tell that the battery life is 5 seconds full charged up. It's a very, very accurate display. It actually tells you by hours and minutes how long you have with that transmitter. So if you got 10 minutes left and the pastor just started talking, then you can at least, you got a problem, but at least you'll know. Second thing you'll notice is it's got the little, the bar meters there to kind of show you the signal strengths of the antennas. So, with let's say Lav 2 here, since the, I'm turning this one off for a second since it's next to the antennas. So this mic is live, as you can tell. And when I'm using this and let's say somebody puts it in their pocket or something or crumples it up, you may see the strength, in this case I'm so close it's not really blocking it. But that's at least a good indicator that that's the issue, is somebody did that. The other thing is if somebody says, hey, I turned it off, how come I can't hear myself? Well, you're on Lav 2 and you're not on, so turn your mic on. So at least you have some things to give you some cues of what's going on with the wireless, with the transmitters. So it shows you a green light saying that we have signal. It also shows you the indicators of what you have. And right now it's going through a calculation to go how long do we have on the battery. And then if you look, if I yell really loud, you can also have a level meter on each mic too. So it's kind of a nice amount of information that you can get right from the receivers for your wireless.
And this is the volume up and down?
Nope. That's you really don't have to do anything button-wise with these. These are just to tell you what's going on with the wireless.
But suppose you have someone reading the scripture and they're very quiet.
That's what we're getting to next.
A very good question.
A very good question. That leads me to my next part. Okay, so over here, so once we've powered on, the system is in an automated mix mode. So as you can tell, this mic was ready to go. I didn't have to do anything. It's already live. So if we touch the center of the dot here, you can see this lights up, and now this is when it's boot up. So now it has 2 types of modes. Right now we're in auto mix mode. That's what it defaults to. So every time you power the system on, this is the mode it starts in. If you were to want to use the mixer here, to run sound for a different event, you would select this, and then depending on the state of that mixer, right now it's still live, but lav 2, let's say I turned off lav 2. So now I turned myself off there, but if I go back here and I set it back to auto mix mode, it's going to come back live because I'm going through the auto mixer portion of it. So that's two types of modes that you can set the system into.
So I think
but
the important
thing is
that it defaults
to a auto mix mode. So let's just say nobody was here to run sound, or you had amnesia and all you could remember how to do was turn on the system. You would be surviving. You know, you could get away with it. So it always boots to this mode. Once it's booted, and then I move the arrows, it'll show the arrow. But if you just power it on, it won't show the arrow, but it will be in the auto mix mode. That's the state it starts in.
Okay, but I still haven't got it. Okay, someone talking, the voice is very quiet.
Now we get to that. So in auto mix mode, even though it's automatically mixing, there are some level adjustments. So let's say you had a soft-spoken person at the pulpit and you really just need to raise the level. So this is like a little scroll wheeler like the original iPods, where as I move my finger up and down, you can see it just keeps sliding through a whole slew of choices. So let's go back up to the top. So here's right when you're at the top, you go to auto mix levels, okay? So there's pulpit level. If I hit again, it shows you the level that it's set at. You can turn it all the way to 100. That'll be pretty loud. And you can turn it all the way down, and it's not off. I've got it at a level so that you can turn it all the way up or all the way down. It's not making it so you could go into feedback or turn it to a muted position. It's just so you can get some level variance of like a soft-spoken person. You can turn it up. If it's somebody who's really loud, you can back it down. Gives you little adjustments for it. I think Pete was saying that at about 50%, we're at a pretty good.
So why don't you have someone talk through that handheld microphone while
so we can
folks try adjusting those levels?
So will you be our spokesperson? As she talks, I'm going to adjust the level. So that's handheld number 2.
Okay, now.
1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3.
So she's at 62.
A, B, C, D, E,
So it's a little bump up.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N.
It goes down, but it's not all the way off.
Now, how did you got it to?
Testing.
You try it.
So
Well, what do you?
So you select that channel. Once it's selected, it'll show the meter. So go
All
on
right,
blue
so
again.
I select it by pushing here.
Correct. But if
Okay.
she's on the blue one, so go ahead and hit that center
All right.
again, and it'll take it off of that, and then move it to the blue. And then hit it again.
And I select it by hitching.
And then yeah. Just,
Then,
yep.
okay. All right.
It's pretty intuitive. Now that you got it, you get the idea.
Yeah.
And then to get out of it, then you can go back up. So there's all these different level controls for the different sources. And then we also have another choice in the beginning with the pulpit. So we have a pulpit muted, pulpit on button. This is a switch. I don't know if you're using it as much now with this ducker mode, but in case, did Pete explain to anybody where
No.
we were with that?
No, I haven't talked to
Well,
him
we'll
since
start
we-
with this. So this basically means if I hit that and the arrow says muted, you're not going to get anything out of the pulpit. I've muted that. Same thing, turn it back on again, you'll have sound out of the pulpit. Now, we have one variation.
So
that
the issue there was that we have cases where someone is at the pulpit using their lav mic or their headset mic,
And they have the other mic
namely
on
Mark,
simultaneously.
and they have the pulpit microphone on at the same time, and it sounds kind of funny. It gives it kind of a hollow ringing sound when both of those microphones are on at the same
it's basically
time.
a time arrival difference that when you have
Sure.
two mics hearing the same source but slightly, like, just a slight millisecond off, it creates a combing effect of filters.
So we didn't want to do that for all the microphones, but for the pulpit microphone, we give you the ability to actually come over here and turn that microphone off if,
That was step
you have
one.
to.
Step two, which we added last time, is what we were talking about when I came in, and that is we've added another function to automate that decision. In other words, on only the pastor's mic, so when he wears that ear mic, if he has that mic on, the pulpit is automatically muted.
Okay.
So you don't have to use that if it's just the ear mic. But now let's say it's associate pastor or somebody else is visiting and using the lapel microphone, it's not going to automatically do that. It's only the one mic that causes that to happen.
It's all right, and that's lav what?
That's Lab 1.
That's
Oh,
called
Lab
Lab 1.
1 is the,
is the ear mic that,
Okay.
Mark wears. So
I know
that's,
you don't have a pulpit mic. You have Lab 1, 2.
well,
and
these
this
are
is
just the
handheld.
wireless. The pulpit's actually wired into the system. So these are wireless receivers that we're
Okay.
using here. So
Is this the pulpit? Oh, that's handheld.
that's
number
yeah,
2.
we've got just 5 choices of microphones that are wireless. So in the layout of the mixer portion, the same thing. There's another channel that's just dedicated to that pulpit channel, but that's a wired mic. So that's why these don't account for that. So back to yeah.
What I'm hearing is everything is controlled through here and nothing through the sound.
In the auto mix mode.
That's
Yeah,
that's
mixed
correct.
bowl.
So
Right.
that
So then let's say
And
you
that's
had-
good.
that's
So let's say you did have an event where you needed to set up a mixer because you wanted somebody to make
Right,
decisions in real time. You can do some with this, but it's a little cumbersome to try to do it that way. This is a little more graphic. You've got more tactile function of making choices. So then all you would do is you dial back up to the top here, put it in mix mode, and it'll say use 01V, and that's this mixer, and that's
okay.
so it's just basically.
So now if
can
Emily
use
if
this
Emily
volume.
talks if Emily
Yeah, so
talks
but-
you'll
well, it's either or. So
you'll see
it's
that-
not now being used from
you'll
here.
see that
Well,
you
it doesn't
can
have to be back here. Oh.
you can now
It'll
go
it'll say mix
you can
mode.
now go to the mixer and turn the handheld blue microphone all the way from completely off to completely on. If you want to try that,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead
at
and
this point now,
go ahead and say something, Emily.
So that would be the blue mic. I can turn it up,
Testing.
and I can turn it all the way off because I have full control now over it. So, it's certainly something that if you're comfortable and more familiar with using the Yamaha and you don't want to be in automated mode, it's certainly still available to you. But I would say, probably for most Sunday services, put it in auto mix mode. You should be able to get everything you need to. It's really more a matter of when you're setting up different events and you are using
Right.
more channels or
Multiple
trying
mics and all
something.
that.
Like when we're doing the pageant this Sunday,
Exactly.
I'll come in and I'll be setting up a bunch of extra microphones and we'll use the mixer. But
Right, and there's no way we can automate for that because it's very, different performance.
I'm
levels.
really envisioning that on the run-of-the-mill Sundays when we're having someone other than me running the system, it's just come in,
That's
turn
not supposed to happen.
turn the switch
Yeah.
on, and give people their
Pete, we're
microphone.
counting on you.
You
Yeah,
come in, you flip the switch on, you give the scripture reader their microphone,
Yeah.
you give the children's time person.
When you can take a vacation.
So
Monday through Friday. That's it.
that
So it should be fairly run by itself, but again, if you have somebody that's just not speaking loud enough, you just may want to check the level of that particular mic and make sure you can turn it up a little bit if you need to.
Okay, so if you have it on here for Lab 3, for example, can I control it here too, or
It won't
No.
do anything
No.
down here. Yeah, it's either
If it's in
or.
auto.
So it's one or the other. It doesn't allow you to mix both. And they really are independent. So if you, let's say we're in auto mix mode and somebody went over here, turned everything up to 10, that would be bad because you'd switch over to that and everything would be super loud. So you do have to watch for that in a sense of what you're doing with the regular mixer because it's not, you could switch over to it and it could
And
be in
again,
bad space.
the idea would be that if we just always use the auto mix mode and
You should be in good shape. I think, as what Pete's saying is that when if Pete couldn't be here or something like that, to turn it on, wait for it to boot up. Once it's booted up, just get it set up on the auto mix mode, and there's really not much else you need to do. I just want to show you some more functions that are in here. Again, that's really all you need to know, so we're going to go a step above that now just to kind of give you an idea of what else you can adjust from here. So in the auto mix mode, there's 2 sets of volume controls. They look similar, but if you look at the top, it says auto mix mode levels. That's what you're hearing in the house here, but it also says auto mix to the recorder. So you can also do a balance of levels that's going to the different recorders. So let's say the pulpit or something wasn't loud enough on the recordings, you could turn it up or turn it down, and adjust that. But it's a separate independent feed that doesn't affect the house mix. So it's really just a separate
the
mixer.
recording mic is?
No, this is not the recording mic. This is all the same mics that we're using for the house sound, but a separate mix that goes to the level on the recorder.
The recorder,
The CD recorder that we use
CD,
to.
the tape, and the MP3.
So-
All three of them get different, or not different, but they all get that balance of the mics. Make sense?
So the mix that's going to the CD is not the same as what's going to the speakers necessarily. You could say we need to send a little bit more of the pulpit microphone. You could say the pulpit microphone is loud enough in the room, but we need to send a little bit more of it to the CD player. You have that kind of control. I think the thing I would stress here is just to know that it's here. And the important thing is if you want to control the pulpit, say the pulpit level, make sure you're not controlling this one.
and just make sure that you didn't scroll past it and start adjusting the recording and wondering why you can't make any changes.
Because
if you-
okay.
'cause if-
Changing the level to the recording.
So this thing,
So if you happen to be there and so let's say you were trying to make the pulpit louder, and you happen to be there and nothing was
the
happening,
recorder.
Yeah.
it could be that you're just
Oh,
sending the
oh, so
So
signal.
those are holes. It'll say
That's
that.
a different,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a
So-
different set of mics.
so-
So just make sure. That's why I have a little space in there. so
Normally,
that you know.
normally you would just deal with the sound in the room.
All right, so we're on the top
So
half.
so
Yeah.
we're basically just
All mixed
the
up.
control for those
Yeah,
5
and then once you get to the
microphones.
blank space, now you're getting
And-
down
Oh,
into the
okay.
record levels.
All
Make
right.
sense?
Okay, well,
And you-
that's good
Again,
to know
you-
that.
good
'Cause
to know
otherwise
that.
you might stumble into the
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Very easily.
The other thing I was going to point out is it does scrolls even further down. We've got another break.
We're now in China.
Yeah, we're down in China. So this is the auto mix output. So you can adjust the levels to the sanctuary speakers, the chancel speaker for the monitors up there. There's a nursery feed, and then also the assisted listening devices. And this is just a main level control for each of those destinations. But again, you probably don't need to adjust these. I'm just showing you
All right.
they're there. And then lastly, I'm going to show you this because this is the part we just added. So remember when I was saying that we had this automated part where if Mark has his ear mic on and he steps up to the pulpit, it'll automatically mute the pulpit and just let the ear mic go through. Let's say, like this past Sunday, Mark was sitting at the chair and somebody else is talking at the pulpit, but he forgot to turn his mic off. Well,
Which
that's
is
a
gonna
disaster. It's going to happen. So if you're here and you see that he doesn't see that happening, you can put the ducker off, and then automatically, it doesn't matter what state he's in, the person at the pulpit will still come through.
What does ducker mean?
Well, that's the term that we use to duck one source to another. We use
Oh.
them normally. Pete got me to change the way we normally use them. A ducker is typically used if you use like page override. So let's say I'm in a restaurant and somebody's announcing that your order is up or table is ready. The background music gets muted as you talk, and then when they stop talking, the music comes back up again. That's all the ducker
Okay.
is. So
You're ducking the
you're
music.
ducking
You're ducking
one
the
level
music so you can
while
hear the other
when it
sound.
sees the signal from another sense. So in this case, what the ducking is doing is it's ducking the pulpit source once it sees there's activity on the wireless source. So that's why we have it set up like that. So I'm going to put it back on, and now it will automatically do that. So we can scroll back up.
You
and-
remember that deal.
Yeah, right.
yeah, well, it's on video, and again, really all you need to know is make sure you're in auto mix, and then here's your levels for the auto mix. If you go past that, you're in trouble.
And if Mark screws up, yell at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of figuring that I'm hoping we can spread the load around a little bit and get different people to volunteer different weeks, but we can all back each other up.
Yeah.
And so on. But again, the whole idea is that it's supposed to be come in, turn it on, it works.
Yeah.
You
and-
said assisted living, so we've got our assisted
Listening.
listening, so we have some of those earphones around.
Yes, I'm going to talk about that in the next section of the tape that I'm planning to talk for. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's probably some other house cleaning or standards of practice that we want to talk about. Obviously, Pete can go through this a little more extent, but just remember if you're going to set up to do recordings that day, you've got an MP3 recorder, you've got a tape. If you're still, are you still recording?
We
with
still
tape as
are.
well?
It's a backup to the others.
And then we also have a CD recorder. So you do have to engage the record and get those ready
Put
to
the
go.
disc and the tape
Yeah,
in.
and all that fun stuff. So if you're coming in early enough, you should be able to get all these things ready to go, get all that stuff. Give yourself that time to get all these things in place, and probably a little extra time for the first 2 times or so you're doing this, just so you don't forget something when you're in the middle of it. But that covers pretty much all you need to know from that point of view. Obviously, this is the same mixer you had before. It's only configured slightly differently, but we've just labeled the inputs to match what you've got coming in. Obviously, like you said, it's very easy to make adjustments on this. That's a little more cumbersome. But that you shouldn't have to. It's really just more, yeah. So-
Okay, so there's a protocol on who gets what mics.
Right, oops.
You're gonna go over that.
So, the other thing I was going to mention, and I'll point it out here. So there, you saw a choir mic that says ambient. That in the live mode, you're probably not going to run to the house mix because that's really just for the recordings, so that it doesn't sound like Mark's talking to his empty room. At least, hopefully, it doesn't sound like he's talking to an empty room. In the record feed, there is one extra channel that's listed. So when you look at the auto mix modes, it goes from pulpit, communion table, all your wireless lav and handhelds. Here you'll see pulpit, communion cable, and then you're going to see ambient mic. That's the chancel overhead mic that's in there. So that way they can hear the organ, they can hear the ambience in the room, and you're going to want to make sure that that's on during the recordings, just so that it's, you know, it makes it.
Both of the hanging mics, so
It's just one of them actually,
Oh,
but it's
one of
the
them?
point being is that it just gives you the ability to give some ambience to the sound, so it doesn't sound like
When-
they're in a dead room.
When you're listening to the recording, the people talking come through very well because they have, you know, each person has their microphone and the microphone goes directly to the recording. But when they stop talking and there's a hymn or something, you don't want it to just be completely silent. You want the person
You don't wanna
listening to the
hear the
recording
breathing while somebody's
to
singing in the
know what's going
background,
on.
you know?
So then they can hear, oh, I can tell there's a hymn playing. I can
Yeah.
tell there's an anthem going
Yeah.
on, whatever. So
And then that's something else too. If you do get into it, you know, he's got headphones here. You could listen and hear, you know, maybe you want less or more of the ambience. Sometimes, you know, having too much ambience can be distracting too. Obviously, if there's a lot of muttering going on at the choir, you know, they could get yourselves into trouble. So, but that's pretty much
So
covers
the headphones give you a sense of what's going in.
into the recordings. Yeah,
recordings.
so you can put it into the record feed and then just hear what's going on there. I recommend at least headphones is the best way to kind of get yourself set up.
Otherwise, you couldn't.
Well, you have no way to monitor what's
Right,
going
yeah,
on, so you're making decisions on just what you think it looks like.
Yeah.
So
But in the automatic, you have that set up.
it should just
it should
work.
just be able to work. Yeah, as
it
is,
should,
yeah.
it should,
Reasonably
should not
clear
have
is
to
what
deal
it
with it.
is.
It should, again, it's the whole idea is you turn it on. It should
and
just
again,
be set to work.
there are some things that default, but what I don't have default on this, that's why I was going to say you may want to check this. There could have been a time that somebody came into auto mix and came in here and turned the pastor all the way down. It doesn't mean he's off, but it may be pretty low, and so it's something to check to say, hey, I kind of hear him, but it really doesn't sound like it's on. You may want to check here and just say, oh, you know what, the pastor was turned down the last time somebody was here. Let's bring it back up to about 50%.
But-
You know.
But again, normally if you never touch it, it should
be all right.
It should be
okay.
good. It should have. If it was good last week, it should be good this week.
Yeah.
So on the remotes, there's no volume on the remotes that they can control.
The remotes.
the handheld mics.
The wireless mics? No, not on the mics themselves, no. You never want to have controls for the people who are, the talent never gets to control them. That's a bad thing for sound. You know, they actually make lockouts for these. I could show you how to do it so that that even the power button, you'd have to know how to hold the certain thing to power it on, but I don't usually set them up that way. Yeah, because in like if you're on a high pressure situation where you're handing a mic to somebody and they could kill the feed, you don't want that. So you just want to make it live and say, yes,
Yeah.
you take this, you go do what you got to do, and I'll make you sound good. So that's how that typically gets handled. So Pete, I think it's up to you now to take us to the next